Hi everyone, my name is Sari. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 18 of the Simplify Your Life Challenge for 2022. This challenge is based on an ebook by YouTuber muchelleb. I will link her channel and the ebook in the bar down below. There's also a playlist where you can follow along with this whole series from the beginning. I will link that on the screen. And with that, let's get into day 18, where we continue decluttering our digital space by decluttering our phones. In the ebook, the phone declutter was part 2 of the digital space declutter along with computer files. Because I have so many files on both computer and phone and cloud storage, which didn't have its own category, I decided to make my phone its own thing because I knew that it was going to be a mess, especially when combined with cloud storage. The phone itself doesn't have that many files on it. The cloud storage backup of the phone, which I have subsequently turned off, by the way, does have that many files on it, mostly photos, as usual. If you watched last week's video, you know that most of my trouble was photos. That did not change. So I did deal with some of my cloud storage last week in that I organized my documents bits of OneDrive into their folders, but I didn't deal with the photos. And I still haven't dealt with Google Drive or Google Photos. And I'm honestly not sure I'm going to get to that right now anyway. So I will do it at some point, just not right now. The photos that are backed up from my phone to OneDrive go back to at least 2014. So it's like several phone backups ago. And there's even more of them on Google Photos because I've had Androids and there used to be an auto sync backup with Google Photos. So that's a whole disorganized mess I haven't touched yet. The photos on my phone and in those cloud spaces are even less organized than the ones on my laptop or the hard drives. That's saying something, considering. So I'm anticipating that's going to take a huge chunk of my time. My digital space continues to be the least organized space of any space in my life. It's so easy for me to just drop clutter there and pretend it doesn't exist because I don't see it. It's not in front of me. I'm not a naturally organized, decluttered person. If I'm stressed or pressed for time or whatever in a worse headspace than usual, the first thing that happens is I start being like, whatever, I'm not putting any of this away. I always clean, as in like surfaces are disinfected and wiped down and washed, but I'm not a picker-upper naturally. I just leave things out until eventually I get so annoyed with them and I get so upset with how the space looks that I go on this cleaning frenzy and put everything away because I cannot abide by the fact that everything is everywhere, even though I'm the one that left it there. It's always been that way. So I am the sort of person that has to force myself to, when I come home and change my clothes and take my shoes off from outside, I have to say, don't just leave that on your bed or leave the shoes in the middle of the floor and then go about your life. Put it away. Like, take the 2 minutes to do it now, because I end up with my whole bed covered in stuff, and then I have to go to bed. And I'm already probably going to bed later than I wanted to be going to bed. And now I have to spend 10 minutes putting all the stuff away that I just threw there because it was a convenient place to throw it and not put away. So that is my natural tendency. With digital space, you can't see all of that clutter. You get mildly annoyed by it when you can't find the photo you're looking for or the thing that you stored on your phone that is probably somewhere in the downloads folder. But then somebody came along and invented something called the search feature, which has now just discouraged me to ever organize anything ever. So I have a big problem, and this is just insidious. It's like the drawer where you throw stuff to forget about it multiplied by 10,000. That's what my phone is like. This is another week where there are not kind of guiding questions. There are just guidelines. And as with last week, I recommend that you use the same guiding questions you set forth for your paper declutter and your sentimental items declutter regarding documents, etc., and then photos. I'll walk you through the process outlined in the ebook. There is nothing in here about actually organizing the files that are on your phone, so I've added that in at the end. It's the same idea as what we did last week for the computer file declutter, but we'll go through it. Step 1. Uninstall the apps you don't need. So in this, we mean apps you don't regularly use and things that do not add value to your life. If your phone and carrier are like mine, your phone will have come with a bunch of apps you don't want and you don't need, and you cannot uninstall most. I like to see if there's a way I can go into the settings and disable them so they're not bothering me, even though they still exist on my phone. I then just shove them all into a folder and ignore them. We'll talk about folders in a little bit. Here are some questions that you should ask yourself as you go through every single app that is installed on your phone. 1, do I use this app regularly? 2, does this app add value to my life? 3, do I feel better after using this app? 4, do I have another app that does exactly what this app does? Remember that once you've purchased an app or added it to your account in the App Store or whatever, you still have access to that even if it's not installed on your device. So if you find after a while that you deleted something that you actually do need, you can reinstall that app from your account on your App Store. I've done that before. I have tons of stuff that I downloaded previously that's in there that's not installed on my phone. And sometimes I go back in and I'm like, oh, I actually do miss that. And I put it back on. It's kind of like the idea of having a backup service, right? Like it's not gone forever. Your data is probably gone, but you can still go back in and say, I find myself really in need of this app that I thought I didn't need. So maybe that will help you feel a little less anxious or stressed about deleting apps, knowing that you still can put them back. Also, remember that if there are social media or shopping apps or other apps that you feel like you need to have access to, but they make you feel worse or otherwise impose hardship or bad feelings or aren't serving you, you can and should disable the notifications on those apps so that they aren't constantly there reminding you and pressuring you and tempting you to interact with them or buy things or spend time playing a game or whatever if you don't have the time or aren't in a mindset to do that. If you disable alerts and you put the apps inside the folders, it's much easier to only open them and interact with them when you want to and on your own terms. I have things like Poshmark and Mercari on my phone because I have things for sale there. So I do need to be able to open those apps and address questions and know when sales have been made and drop prices and share and things like that, even though I'm trying not to use them to buy anything. I don't want the pressure of those apps constantly saying, hey, something you like is on sale. Hey, did you know that the seller lowered a price on this? Hey, someone else has this in their cart. You should buy it if you want to buy it. I don't want those reminders. So I disabled all of that. I shoved the apps in a folder, and most of the time I forget they are there unless I'm thinking specifically, oh, I need to go to Poshmark and drop these prices. It's really, really good that way, that I'm still able to have those apps, but I do not have that constant in-your-face bombardment with them. 2, organize your apps into folders. Your phone is just like your computer and your physical space. It's going to be way easier to navigate if everything has a logical home. Most of the time, I know for most people, phone apps are just cluttering up phone desktops, usually in a totally non-logical fashion, or they're in an app screen where they're either in alphabetical order or the order in which they were installed, which is super helpful, thanks. This is one of the areas where my phone actually already is organized. It was like this before the challenge. Because I don't like a ton of things cluttering up my desktop, phone, computer, whatever it is, I have been keeping my apps in folders for a while, basically since I learned it was possible, and it's so very helpful. I will put in some footage here of me showing you that structure on my phone so you can see how it looks.
As you can see, I have folders for all the apps that my phone carrier installs, so the AT&T ones, and then I also have a whole set of Google specific apps, and some of those are things that came with my phone, and some of those are just Google things. I also have things like cloud storage. I have photos, which is interestingly not my actual photos, just my photo editing apps and things like that. I may rearrange that actually and like put the gallery that's here into there. Maybe that makes sense. These incidentally are just the apps that come with my phone. So the calendar and the camera and the clock and the settings and the phone and messages. So that's just here. As I talked about, I put all my shopping apps in one place, so they're just in this folder and I can open them if I want to, or I can ignore them if I want to, which is really great. I put the closet app in here because it's clothes. There's technically a shopping component on that app, but I never use it. But I filed this under here because I figured clothes went with this stuff. Then there are some things at the bottom that don't really fit into the categories, and I tend to just leave those there because there aren't that many of them, and I don't want to have a miscellaneous folder. A miscellaneous folder just invites you to dump a bunch of junk in there and keep a whole folder full of disorganized apps, where if they're out here, you have to look at them. So I try to file everything, and if it truly doesn't file and is just a one-off thing, I'm like, okay, I don't need to create a folder for one app. And actually, one of these I think can be moved to the phone app. I'm not sure this reminder actually came with my phone or not, but it's close enough that I'm going to file it under phone. So I'm going to show you how to do that in case you don't know. Now, I have a Samsung Galaxy on an Android. I don't know if this works the same way on an iPhone, but here's how I do this. Just hold this down and then I drag it over here to the folder, and then it just drops it in there. So it's really, really easy. Again, not sure how you do that on an iPhone, not sure if other Android phones are different, but that's how mine works, and you can look yours up if you don't know. Really try to contain the number of apps that you have so that your folders all fit on one screen, because scrolling through multiple pages of folders of apps and things like that is still annoying, and no one wants to do it. So really, truly think, do I need this? Is it serving me positively? If you don't, delete it. Make sure everything fits in the folders. Make sure all the folders fit on one screen. Keep your apps to an absolute minimum, and you will be very happy about that.
3, place the most important apps on your home screen.
Once again, I'm already at a bit of an advantage because I don't like things cluttering up my desktop. So in general, I keep my main desktop screen to this Google search bar and these 5 apps. I can change them, and maybe I will and maybe I should, but I actually do use these fairly often. So that's the phone app, text messaging, Chrome, my Gmail, and the camera. Those are the main things on my screen, and then my Google search bar. And then one screen over, I have the weather. I have this meeting thing. This is a Samsung routine I set up, and I use it when I don't want my phone sound on. So I just like click this, and then the auto routine that has the ringer and the notification sounds on, which triggers when I'm at my house. I can turn that off like if I'm in a meeting for work or I'm recording something and I don't want my phone to make noise. And it just puts that little no sound mute thing on. I set that up, but I like to have a little button handy so I can just reach over and press it. The other things that are on here are Instagram, the calendar, Overdrive, which is my audiobooks app from the library, the clock, and Translate. I use those pretty regularly for various purposes. Instagram I use less than I used to. That should probably be WhatsApp more than Instagram, but I have WhatsApp in another place that I'll show you in a bit. My phone, as you can see down here, defaults to giving me 3 home screens. I actually have nothing on the third one. That's super cool. I keep it very minimal. I'm able to do that mostly because of this really neat trick that my phone has, which is this side menu right here. So the part on the top is my 4 most recently used apps, and then below the little line are things I've set up. I have the ability to edit this and put links to 8 more things here. Actually, you can do more than 8, but it starts making you scroll and makes the bar bigger and things like that. So I try to recommend that you limit it to 8, just so that screen's not taking up a lot of things. I mean, really, truly, you can have apps on your main screen, you can have apps on your second screen, you can have apps here. So between this all, I have 17 things. That's plenty. I don't need to use that much stuff during my day. Maybe you're different than me. But these are things I want quick access to. So I can say, oh, I need to open WhatsApp. Here it is. It's on the sidebar. Here's Spotify. Here's my closet app. Here's my to-do list. Here's the gallery. Here's my football scores app. Here's the calculator. Here's Google Maps. It's all handy and right there. And you can edit this and choose how to do that and set your commonly used apps, which is really, really nice. It's an amazing feature, that little pull-out menu. I don't know what I would do without it because it keeps my desktop nice and clean, but I can still access everything. I actually use these apps probably more often than the stuff on my actual desktop. So I think when I set up my new phone, I'll kind of reverse the order and put these on the desktop and some of the other stuff in this hidden menu, but I'm also really used to just reaching over and pulling this menu out. So that's that.
I highly recommend that if you don't know what your most used apps are, you clear all of the apps from your desktop, and then you take 2 weeks and not have any app on your main phone screens, and make some notes on what apps you keep having to find and are annoyed that you don't have easier access to, and then move those to the desktop in a way that makes logical sense for you so that you can find those. 4, declutter your contacts list. Delete any contacts in your phone that you no longer call or message. If you don't talk with them frequently, but you feel like you need to have their contact information, I really suggest installing an address book app. I use Google Address, and moving that info in there. Leave your contacts that are listed in your phone to only the people you regularly contact. Everyone else can exist in an address book so that if something comes up where you like, oh, I really need to get a hold of this person and I deleted their contact info, you still have it. You don't have to scroll through that whole list every time. I only have like 4 friends, so there's only 10 people maybe in my contacts that I actually need to talk to at any given time anyway. I know most people have more than that, but keep it reasonable and really truly think, do I talk to this person? Do I want to talk to this person? Sometimes you can't use that because it's your mom, but that's not personal experience. I just know how it is. Sort through that and then use address books wisely as well. 5, declutter your messages. This is where you delete all of those spam and advertising messages. And better yet, unsubscribe to their text message marketing, because all of the texts I get now are, hey, this place is having a sale. Hey, this is this. Hey, did you know? No, I don't, and I don't care. And I block the senders on every single spam text I get, even though they just spoof new numbers and keep spam texting me. Delete all message strings except those that are ongoing. If there's info buried in old text strings that you need, deal with it. Find it, copy it down, take a photograph of it, deal with whatever part of it needs to be dealt with, and delete that message string. Obviously, threads that are ongoing or people you're still talking to all the time, whatever, keep those. That's great. But random exchange with coworker or so-and-so that you really don't talk to and you don't need any of the information in that, you can delete that. 6, organize your files. This is the section I added. This follows the same format as organizing our computer files that we followed last week. So for anything you truly need to store on your phone, make sure it is organized, filed, and accessible. So again, documents, organize it into folders and subfolders if your phone will let you do subfolders. Mine sometimes will and sometimes won't. Photos. Go through all of the photos on your phone, just like you did last week in the computer declutter. If you're like me, this will be even harder for phone files because we all tend to just snap photos of random things and send them via group chat or text or WhatsApp, and you don't actually need to save them. We download memes or something to put on Twitter. My phone automatically saves multiple copies of things because it automatically has the photo I took and then an edited version, and then Instagram backs things up to its own folder and Twitter backs things up to its own folder. And I don't need 5 copies of the same photo, but they're all on my phone anyway. And in the case of Instagram, they're all on my Instagram. Do I need to keep the file when I can just get it from Instagram? Probably not. If for some reason I needed that selfie or that photo of food I took someday, I can certainly just go to Instagram and either take a screenshot of it with my phone and have it again, or download it from my Instagram account. WhatsApp and Twitter, and even texting sometimes, even if it doesn't tell you, all of the media you send and all of the people that send you media in group chats and group Twitters and on WhatsApp, that all downloads into your phone storage. So you have to go through the WhatsApp folder and delete every single photo that was sent in a WhatsApp conversation that you don't care about. This includes GIF files. So if you send a GIF file, they're all in there. So my sister and I have like a handful of GIFs that we just send back and forth in response to each other. So I have like 20 copies of the same one. Super useful. Thank you, WhatsApp. So look everywhere is what I'm saying. I also recommend plugging your phone into a laptop and using the File Explorer interface to check for and delete and organize photos as well. In some cases, it's a little easier to do. And in a lot of cases, it's a lot easier to actually find where all of those photos are stored. I can go into apps and then WhatsApp and then media in my File Explorer browser and delete all of those photos. That way, it's a lot harder to do that via my phone. When you have everything you don't need to keep deleted, I recommend setting up the folders on your phone with the same names that match the folder structure you used on your laptop or hard drive. This will allow you to have only one system and also to be able to easily move files and photos to your laptop or your hard drive or your cloud storage or wherever you're keeping your photos because the structure is the same. So you can just click it and drag it into the relevant section and it won't have multiple folders with the same concept but slightly different names or whatever. Just use the same file structure everywhere and it makes it so much easier. After you have the file structure set up, go through your downloads folder, clear out what you don't need, file the rest either on your phone or your laptop or storage drive, depending on where and how you need to access it. Do your best once this is done to either delete or move downloaded files to the right location immediately or go through them once a month and delete and organize. My downloads folder is chaos at all times. especially on my phone. So I'm going to make a point to do that more often. And really, I'm going to make a point to do all of this more often. I recommend repeating this whole process at whatever interval works for you to make sure you're keeping things organized and staying on top of the clutter, because digital clutter is insidious and it is real. Once your phone is done, I recommend repeating this whole file deletion and organization in any cloud storage space, using the same structure as always, and then consolidating everything into one location. There will be files that you want on your phone, so keep those files on your phone. You don't need to have 2 copies of them if you don't want to, although you can say, well, it's backed up here. If it's something you need to access from your phone, keep it on your phone. If it's something you need to access from your cloud storage, keep it in your cloud storage. But for the most part, I'm going to try to have central location storage for all of this. And it might all be cloud storage, or it might just be a hard drive that I have that backs up to Backblaze. Backblaze, if you don't know, is a super amazing backup service. I talked about it in last week's video. I have a code down below for both of us get 1 free month if you sign up for their service. It saved me last week when I dropped the hard drive that had all of my YouTube videos on it, and I was able to just go to Backblaze, request a download of those files, put it on the new hard drive that I bought, and none of you noticed any difference about there not being a video, because there was still a video because I did that. So I am a believer in that, and I think it's a really useful service and a really safe way of making sure you have copies of your files, especially as we're going through and deleting things that we may regret deleting later. Not sponsored, just trying to help you out. So here's how I did. I kept a lot more stats this week because I thought about it ahead of time, so bear with me. My downloads folder went from 58 files and 82 megabytes to 14 files and 53 megabytes. I think I moved everything. I think that was just, I deleted stuff and then whatever wasn't deleted was that, and then it went into its storage space. I hope that's what I did. My internal storage was 52 gigabytes total. Most of that was photos. Camera had 216 files, which was 3.72 gigabytes, and I went down after deleting to 202 files at 3.68 gigabytes, which isn't a lot, but a lot of the files that are in there are photos of the clothes that I'm working on listing, so I'm keeping those on my phone until then because I need to list them on Poshmark and I need to have access to those from the app. I also have video files there, which won't ultimately live on my phone, but will get filed in my photos storage. I kept the files size in the accounting because I didn't delete them, but they did get moved off of my phone to somewhere else. Screenshots, the worst offenders. 1,898 files, so 1,898 files. That's right. I had that many screenshots. That's how I keep up with stuff. It's a lot of things from group chat or other social interaction stuff that I'm like, haha, look, so-and-so tennis bro did this. Here's a screenshot. That's what happens to me. I also take screenshots of relevant sections of eBooks that I want to remember, that I'm like, oh, you should take a note on this. This has become how I take notes on eBooks. Not efficient, but that's how I do it. And then I never actually go back through and look at any of the notes or the files and write them down or type them up into a file so that I can delete the thousands of screenshots on my phone. But that's something I'm going to work on. It's part of the whole idea of my paper declutter, where if you watch that video I showed you, I have a whole stack of things that I'm like, I really need to take notes on this and make it digital or create a document or do whatever. It's the same with that. It's just the digital form where I need to take a note on this book and put it into a file. I just don't actually ever do that. So I got that down by deleting to 1,524 files and 811 megabytes. And then after moving all of the screenshots of ebooks I need to take notes on onto my computer, I have 459 files and 189 megabytes, and that's basically all screenshots of tennis players doing weird stuff on social media, or football players doing weird stuff on social media. Then I have pictures from apps, so this is things like WhatsApp and Twitter, as I mentioned. I went from 577 files and 122 megabytes to 471 files and 84.6 megabytes, which are mostly thumbnails of the photos to display on the phone screen. And I don't know what happens if I delete those, but they're all duplicates of photos I already have. I didn't mess with it because I didn't know what would happen. Screen recordings, I have 25 files and 1.22 gigabytes. I only deleted 3 of those. That's another thing where sometimes it's stuff I need to take notes on, or it's videos I'm working on, or other assorted things. So I didn't expect to delete a lot out of there. Before moving things to their various homes on my computer or hard drive, and without knowing what I will eventually keep on my phone because I want easy access to them, my photos and videos folder is now 714 files and 4.27 gigabytes, and my total phone storage is 9.4 gigabytes plus whatever the apps take up. I deleted things, I rearranged mostly things, and I will be moving all of the photos off of the phone and merging them into their respective photos folders on my external hard drive so that they all get backed up to Backblaze. And then if there are things I want actually access to on my phone, I'll put those back. I also looked at my SD card, which has 10.6 gigabytes and 159 files. I didn't delete a lot of stuff off of there. I went down to 7.39 gigabytes and 133 files. I actually have mostly audiobooks on there, and a lot of those are audiobooks I listen to somewhat regularly. So I have 23 files and 8.74 gigabytes of audiobooks, and I went to 17 files and 5.98 gigabytes. And then after I did that, I found the other folder of audiobooks from my previous audiobook player because I got a new player. So now I have 43 files and 7.33 gigabytes, and that's pretty solidly going to stay like that because I do like to keep those books on my phone. OneDrive is a mess. I had started out with 9.75 gigabytes of images, 36.25 gigabytes of video, 52.83 gigabytes of audio, and 871 megabytes of documents. The audiobooks are all files I'm moving to Plex from my audiobook creation. So I get the audiobook versions of my current books, and then if they're not compiled as audiobook M4B files, I convert them and compile them, and then I put them on OneDrive, and I check them all, I listen to them all to make sure the files are not corrupt or weird or anything, and then I move those to Plex. So they hang out in my OneDrive until I have a chance to listen to them and check them. We went from 56 files and 12.8 gigabytes to 48 files and 9.77 gigabytes because I transferred the completed checked ones to Plex. So what's left are the ones that are still waiting. Documents, I went from 658 files and 1.34 gigabytes to 409 files and 14.3 megabytes. So good job me deleting stuff out of a documents folder. Pictures, I went from 14 gigabytes to 12.9 gigabytes. It didn't actually give me a count on that. I still have a photo dump of like 1,500 photos and videos that auto backup from my phone that I didn't get to. I still have to do that. It's mostly duplicate files that are already on my phone, so it takes me a little bit longer and moving stuff, but it's going to follow the same file structure principle, and then I'll delete everything that I don't need, probably multiple files of, dump it into there. We'll see. So that's how I did. I didn't get through everything I wanted to get through, but I'm going to keep working on it, and I'm going to keep pushing, and I'm going to revisit this, and I'm going to do better. Hold me to it. Hold me to it, okay? Remind me, check in, say, hey, are you organizing the photos on your phone? Hey, how's your cloud storage? Those are regular conversations we can have, right? You can just pop in and say, hey, sorry, tell me how your cloud storage is doing. How are you doing? Is your phone as chaotic as my phone? I assume so, because I think phones are just, we just take pictures and use them and interact with them, and then, they don't organize themselves. And that whole helpful thing where the apps just download the local copies of photos that everyone sends via group chat, and you're like, I don't want this. Why are you keeping a copy of it? This isn't relevant. It's like they make it difficult for you to keep it organized. Annoying. Anyway, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Was this hard for you? Again, I know photo declutters can be hard for people, so how are you feeling sentimentally? Did you do a backup? I hope you did a backup somewhere before deleting and didn't just delete and then are going to regret deleting. So same idea as sentimental items. If at any point you think you're going to regret it, don't delete that thing. Or make sure you have a backup copy of that thing. So hopefully you're feeling okay. Let me know. Let me know how you're doing. Is your phone more organized? Do you feel better? Is this making you feel better, like you have better access to things and you know where things are and you feel less stressed trying to find stuff in your random chaotic phone photos folder? If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me in this series, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And I will talk to you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.